Everyone's jumping on the frugal living bandwagon these days. You're working hard, cutting expenses, and by what society is saying right now, you probably think you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. But maybe you're starting to wonder, is there more to life than just paying bills and cutting out all the little things you used to enjoy? Is frugal living just another popular fad that'll pass with time? Or is it really the key to building wealth on your journey toward financial freedom? Here's the truth. Cutting expenses alone isn't enough. It's like trying to lose weight. You can count calories all day, but if you're not nourishing your body, moving it, and building strength, you'll hit a wall. And that's the problem with frugal living. Does it really work to just cut your expenses and live on next to nothing? Or, like real lasting health, is there something more to the equation? Now let's talk about one of the biggest myths floating around in personal finance. We've been told over and over that frugality equals financial success. If you just stop buying lattes, if you just cut your grocery bill, if you just stop eating out, then magically you'll build wealth. But here's the reality check. You can only cut your expenses so far. There's a natural floor, a point when you simply can't reduce anymore without sacrificing your health, your well-being, or your basic needs. And even if you manage to cut everything down to nothing, you're still only working with what's left over. You're not expanding your means. You're not growing your income. You're not building anything. Real wealth isn't just about cutting back. It's about growing forward. It's about finding ways to increase your income, build assets, invest wisely, and align your money with what actually matters to you. Think of it like this. Frugality is like turning off the leaky faucet in your home. It's smart, it's necessary, and yes, it'll save you money. But cutting off the flow of the small drip isn't going to put too much back into your pocket if you're facing bigger financial issues like limited income, high interest debt, or poor financial planning. Stopping the drips is a great first step, but to truly change your financial situation, you need to tackle the bigger leaks, the ones that are draining your resources the fastest. Now let's talk about something that rarely gets mentioned in the financial space, the emotional cost of being too frugal. Because here's what happens when you take frugality to the extreme. You start living in constant scarcity mode, always focused on what you can't have, what you can't do, what you can't enjoy. You feel burned out because life just starts feeling like it's all about sacrifice with no room for enjoyment or reward. You also might develop a false sense of progress. You feel productive because you're constantly saving just little bits here and there, but you're not actually moving forward in a meaningful way. Let me give you a quick example. It's like someone who spends hours. Let me give you a quick example. It's like someone who spends hours every week clipping coupons, driving across town to save $1 on groceries, or refusing to go out with friends because they want to avoid spending $10. They're saving, sure, but they're not taking into account the big picture. They're not asking, could I use this time and energy to increase my income? Could I put some of this effort into building skills or assets that grow over time? Back when I was earning at the peak of my marketing business, I was making about $100 to $150 an hour on an average project. But when it came for time for grocery shopping, I'd go into full frugal mode. I'd carefully scan the flyers, I'd map out the best sales, and I'd visit at least 3 different stores. Grocery shopping days were a huge ordeal. Between planning, driving, shopping, and unpacking, I could easily spend 4, 5, maybe even 6 hours or more if I had to go to Walmart, which was a 30-minute drive. One day I sat down and I actually calculated how much money I was saving on groceries because I wanted to pat myself on the back with all this effort. And you know what I found? It came to about 40 or $50 worth of savings over a 4-hour shopping trip. But here's the kicker. I could have been at home working on a client project earning $100 to $150 an hour. And instead, I spent an agonizing 4 hours just to save a measly $40, $50. That was a turning point for me. I realized that extreme frugality was just costing me time, it was costing me opportunity, and I switched my entire shopping strategy. Extreme frugality can easily trap you in a small, anxious mindset where the only focus is cut, 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 and that leaves no space to imagine or create something bigger. Now, I'm not saying frugality is bad or that you should throw it out completely. Frugality has its place when it's used intentionally. Here's when frugality does work. When you're cutting back on things that don't align with your values or goals. For example, canceling subscriptions you don't use or meal prepping at home because you prefer it, not because you feel forced to. When you're saving with a specific purpose in mind, like building up an emergency fund, paying off a chunk of debt, or preparing for a big move or a transition, in those cases, temporary frugality can be incredibly powerful and a focused tool. When you're using frugality as a short-term season, maybe you cut back for a few months so you can free up cash to invest or grow your income, but you don't live in that restrictive mode forever. What's important here is frugality works best when it's part of a bigger plan, not when it's the only plan. So what does it really take to build wealth? It's not about living on less and less until there's nothing left. It's about creating a balanced approach that brings together multiple pieces of the puzzle. Here's what needs to be a part of that bigger picture. Smart saving. Yes, cutting back where it makes sense and being intentional with your money. Intentional spending, aligning your purchase with your values and your priorities, not just mindless spending or endless restricting. Income growth. Looking at ways to increase what's coming in, whether that's through your career, side projects, or just new opportunities. Wealth building, putting your money to work by building assets, investing and creating streams that grow over time. The truth is, you can't shrink your way to wealth. At some point, you have to build. You have to shift from focusing only on what you're cutting to focusing on what you're creating. When you blend these strategies together, you open up a new path that's sustainable, that's empowering and aligned with the life you actually want. Frugality alone won't get you to wealth. You need a bigger, bolder strategy, one that helps you think and act like a rich person. If you're ready to break out of small thinking and discover what truly sets wealthy people apart, don't miss this video next.